Large-scale enterprise application is generally a combination of many systems and subsystems. These systems and subsystems are hosted on different computing platforms such as IBM Mainframe or Windows or Linux. A legacy application which is hosted on IBM Mainframe is a combination of many online and batch programs. These programs are categorized into main program, a subprogram, and a copybook based on the nature of functionality and the business logic which is included in these programs. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back to our channel. And the topic for today's COBOL tutorial is COBOL CALL Statement. In this session, we will primarily focus on COBOL CALL Statement and how you can use COBOL CALL Statement to call subroutine from the main program. So without wasting any time, let's focus on today's agenda. So we start today's session with introduction to COBOL subroutines and how exactly you can call them from main program. Then we will deep dive into COBOL call statement and syntax detail. We will also look at various techniques of passing data in the COBOL call statement, that is call by value, call by reference, and call by content. Then we will focus on static versus dynamic calls and how exactly control flow from main program to subprogram and from subprogram to main program. And finally, I will close this session with a couple of examples so that you can understand how exactly you can use call statement in your COBOL program. So ladies and gentlemen, before I start with today's session, I would request you all to do subscribe to our channel because we need your support to grow our channel. In case if you have already subscribed to our channel, then I would like to say a big thank you for your subscription. So let's get started with introduction. Now let's try to understand what is a COBOL subprogram or subroutine and a COBOL main program. If a COBOL program is the first program in a run unit, that COBOL program is termed as main program. And all the other programs within that run unit is termed as subprogram. However, there is no specific code through which you can identify whether this is a subprogram or a main program. It purely depends on the system designer and the programmer who is actually transforming all the business requirement into a subprogram or a main program as per the project requirement. And always remember that a main program can call any subprogram. In fact, subprogram itself can call other subprograms. There is one more terminology which is used for main program and subprogram, that is called and calling program. So the program that calls other program is referred to as calling program, and the program it calls is referred to as called program. So here is a legacy application which is actually using a main program, a copybook, and a subprogram. So main program is the first program in the run unit. So in this case, there's a program called DSP01 which is actually acting as a main program. So what I've done is I've included the core business functionality in this program, and it is using call statement to call the subprogram. And if you look at the right hand side of your screen, you'll see the subprogram that is tax01, and it is actually calculating tax on employee salary. You also have a copybook. So copybooks are generally used to include file structure or probably any other common piece of logic that can be included in your program. And you can include copybooks in your program with the help of copy statement, and I've created a separate video on that. I would request you all to watch that video so that you can understand how and when you should use copy statement in your COBOL program. Now let's look at simple example so that you can understand how a business functionality is split between a main program and a subprogram. So in this example, you have a main program which is calculating the salary of an employee for a specific month. The main program calls two subprogram to calculate the salary and tax for a specific month. In first call, the main program pass EMP ID and grade as an input to the subprogram. The subprogram calculate employee salary and return the value to the main program. Similarly, in second call, the main program pass employee ID, salary, and tech slab as an input to the second subprogram. The second subprogram calculate the text and return value to the main program. Now let's focus on COBOL call statement syntax, because main program can only call subprogram with the help of call statement. So the syntax of call statement is pretty simple and straightforward. It begins with the keyword call followed by the program name, and if you want to pass any value from the calling program to the called program, then you have to use the keyword using followed by a variable name. Now let's go through the example of a COBOL call statement. In first example, the COBOL program which is calling subprogram is running on IBM Mainframe, and in this case you need to specify the call followed by a program name. So in this case it is emptext01, and I'm passing two values to the subprogram. First one is empsal and the second one is emptext. Similarly, if you are just using call statement on Microfocus COBOL, then syntax is same, but you need to pass the actual location of the subprogram along with variable names. Now let's go through the complex variant of COBOL call statement, and in this variant you have more control over the data which is passed to the COBOL subprogram. And with the help of these three parameters, that is call by reference, call by content, and call by value, you can control the way subprogram is accessing or updating the data that you are passing from the main program. And if you do not specify any of the three parameters, then system will assume by reference as default value. The next set of parameter, that is on exception, not on exception, and returning. So these three parameters are generally used to execute a set of statement that you want to execute in case if there is any specific condition happens. For example, you're calling a program and call fails due to any reason. So the set of statement you specify under on exception will be executed. Now let's discuss these three parameters one by one. So first one is call by reference. So when the data is passed by reference, the address of the data item is supplied to the called subprogram. So any change made to the data item in the subprogram are also made to the data item in the main program, because both items refer to the same memory location. And if you look at the flow diagram, program A, which is a main program, is calling subprogram, that is program B, and it is passing the address of the data item. Therefore, program A and program B are accessing same memory location. But when the data is passed by content, a copy of the data item is created and the address of the copy is supplied to the subprogram, and any change made to the data item in the subprogram will only affect the copy of the data item. So if you look at the flow diagram, program A, which is a main program, is calling subprogram, that is program B, and it's passing the data. So what it does, it just create a copy of the variable or the data item and then pass the address of that particular data item to subprogram B. And subprogram, if it makes any changes to those particular variables or the data item that it has received from program A, then those changes will only reflect in subprogram B. It will not be reflected in program A. And the reason behind that is that both programs are actually accessing different memory location. The last parameter is call by value, and when you use call by value, the calling program passes the value of data item instead of the reference to the sending data item. The call program can change the parameter, but the change do not have any effect on the calling program arguments, because the subprogram only has access to a copy of data. Now let's focus on the various methods of transferring control from one program to other program. So in general, the call statements are divided into two categories. First one is static call and second one is dynamic call. Now let's try to understand the difference between static call and dynamic call. In the static call, the COBOL program and all the called programs are part of the same load module. In dynamic calls, the COBOL subprogram is not link edited with the main program. Instead, it is link edited into a separate load module, and it is loaded at the runtime only when it is required. But in static calls, the load module is already present in main storage, and the branch to the subprogram is performed. And whenever you have subsequent execution of call statements, whether it is static call or dynamic call, the called program will always be in the last use state. But if you specify the initial attribute in the called program, then the program will always be in the initial stage each time the called program is called within a run unit. And the last point is the compiler option which is used to compile the program is non-dynam and no DLL for static calls, and for dynamic calls it would be dynam and no DLL. Now let's focus on an example so that you can understand how exactly control is flowing from main program to subprogram and how exactly control return back to the main program. So if you look at your screen, you have two programs. First program is a calling program, or it's a main program, and the second one is a called program or a subprogram. So in main program you have a call statement that is calling your subprogram, that is emp tax01. So in this example, while calling the subprogram, I'm not passing any data. So it's a simple call, and when the call statement is executed in the main program, the control will be transferred to the subprogram, and the logic which is included in the subprogram is executed, and finally control will return back to the main program and it will start executing logic after the call statement. The important thing that you need to remember is that you should never use stop run in subprograms because it will terminate the call. So that is why you always use exit program or maybe go back statement. Now let's look at second example where we would be sending data from main program to subprogram. So in this example, again we have two programs. First one is a main program and second one is a subprogram. And if you look at the main program, we have working storage section where we have defined two variables. First one is salary and second one is text. So we would be sending salary to the subprogram. The subprogram calculate the text and return the value to the main program. And if you look at the variables which is defined in working storage section and the linkage section of the subprogram, you'll see the sequence. The sequence of these variables is exactly same, and in fact the length is also same. And if you notice, the sequence of variables which is used in the call statement of main program is exactly same with the sequence of variables which is used in your subprogram. So in call statement you have first you have employee salary, then you have employee text, and in this subprogram you have WS salary and you have WS text. You should always maintain the same sequence and the same length of the fields. However, you can change the name of the variables as and when you're required. The way I've done in main program, I'm using emp-sal, and in my subprogram, I'm using ws-sal. Now let's go through a couple of important points related to COBOL call statement. And the first point is that a subprogram must be compiled and it should be ready for execution before you actually compile your main program. And you should always use exit program or go back statement in your subprogram. You should never use stop run. Static call is faster than dynamic calls because the main program and subprogram are part of the same module. If space is a concern, then you can think of dynamic calls. Otherwise, you should go for static calls. And last point, the sequence of fields in the call statement and the linkage section of a called program should be same. Ladies and gentlemen, this marks an end to our today's presentation, and I would request you all to do subscribe to our channel because we need your support to grow our channel. And in case if you have any feedback or any question, then please do mention that in the comment section, and don't forget to hit like button. Thank you so much.